So the Chargers score the most points they've scored all season. They give up the most points they've scored all season.
Right.
And Joe Burrow is spectacular. We talked about the Chargers already, and I was a little negative. I'm going to be very negative about the Bengals. This is what I said after they lost.
Well, this is where I was going. Like, they are who they are. This is kind of what they've done all year.
But here's what they are. Here's what they are.
Right.
They're a team that when Joe Burrow fell into their laps in 2020, they were the worst team that year. They had the first overall pick. The Dolphins wanted to trade for it desperately. The Bengals were too stubborn for their own good because I think, generally speaking, until you know what a guy's going to be, if you can get multiple first-round picks and this, that, and the other thing, it's a safer decision. No, we want Burrow. So they get Burrow.
Yep.
He ends up being good. Oh, shit, we're going to have to pay him one of these days. They sell the naming rights to the stadium. They give him a big contract after 3 years. That's not enough. You can't just do that because all these other decisions they've made have helped drag them down this year. Screwing around with Jamar Chase, having him show up but not practice and not know he was going to play up until right before week 1, right before the game starts. He was out there warming up, not knowing whether or not he was going to play. You think if he was fully engaged and practice prepared, they're going to lose to the Patriots week 1? Probably not. The stuff with T. Higgins, tag and trade him. Don't expect him to play happily the year under the franchise tag and then come out and play through injury. He's missed 5 games already due to injury, and maybe these are injuries he would have played through if he had a long-term contract. Do what the Chiefs did, tag and trade like L'Jarius Sneed. And then, we talk all the time about the Giants moving on from Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I know.
Well, they have Joe Mixon there.
Right.
That's a different team, too.
I hear you.
I just feel like the Bengals think all they had to do was pay Joe Burrow, and we can keep being cheap, and we can keep being short-sighted, and we can keep not signing young talent. Oh, Jesse Bates is the other one that I forget to mention. They tried to play that game. Okay, we'll tag him, we'll draft Dax Hill to replace him, and we'll let Jesse Bates leave. They let everyone go after 1 year of the franchise tag. Carl Pickens is the only guy they've ever signed to a long-term contract that they franchise tagged, and they cut him after 1 year of the contract. So they blew that, and what Dax Hill ever do? They moved him to corner, and I think he's on IR still.
He is, I believe so.
So it's just the Bengals are still the Bengals. It's not just this year. This is the Bengals culture dragging down a team that had Super Bowl aspirations because they got rid of Joe Mixon when they shouldn't. They didn't take care of Jamar Chase when they should have. They didn't make a more final decision about T. Higgins. Franchise tag is not a final decision. It's a 1-year Band-Aid that is likely going to fall off. Like when a Band-Aid gets wet, it just falls off. That's what happened. They're not getting anything out of T. Higgins this year relative to what they could have gotten if they would have signed him to a long-term deal or traded him for draft pick they could have used to go out and pick up another receiver that you hope works out right away.
No, they dropped the ball in that department. I agree with everything.
But they've always been that. They've been cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap.
I think where it hurts is, and I mean, you're laying it out perfectly, is just that we were at a point where we're going, wait, they're in the window. They got the guy at quarterback. They got a receiver that's special. We've seen them be the kryptonite to the team that's dominating the NFL. The time was now. And, they fumbled around and bullcrapped and whatever else to, lead us to this point. And some of those issues and what they did and how they handled those situations led us to this point. And not addressing certain things at the trade deadline. Certainly could have made a move even then. Helped the defense out a little bit. Did nothing at the end of training camp when they were realizing, hey, we're a little thin up front on D-tackle and we don't have enough big bodies and questions like that. Hey, we could use another corner or something of that nature so we can play a little bit more man-to-man, do that. They haven't addressed any of those things. They basically just, I think, thought, we have Joe Burrow. He's friends with Jamar Chase. We'll kick the can down the road on this Jamar Chase contract a little bit. We'll try to squeeze the year out of T. Higgins. And because it's Joe Burrow, he'll kind of hold it together and he'll make it happen on the offensive side of the ball and keep everybody together. And they've put it all on him, and he's actually played absolutely phenomenal. I mean, MVP-ish, right? Other than Lamar Jackson, he would be the guy. But their team's not good enough, and, they've screwed around here and messed up a whole season.
I've said this before. I wrote it in Playmakers. It's 100% true. As someone told me who's very close to the Joe Burrow camp vibe mindset, and this is going to piss off some Bengals fans, but part of the goal here is to get you guys to try to demand something a little bit more from ownership because you have a franchise quarterback that could lead you to a Super Bowl win if they do enough right things around him, and they aren't. If Joe Burrow was from Athens, Georgia, and not Athens, Ohio, he would have refused to play for the Bengals.
Yeah, you've always said that.
And then,
right.
I was trying to hold that cough off as long as I could. It was a cough, so excuse me. I'm thinking you said bless me.
Yeah, I just said excuse
Okay.
me. All right.
Anyway, then I feel like they got him to sign the long-term contract, and now they can just say, okay, fine, we don't have to do all this stuff. Like we got to make sure Joe's happy. Oh wait, he signed the long-term contract. He's here. There's nothing he can do about it. He can't leave. Although you don't want to get to the point where your franchise quarterback goes like Carson Palmer and says, I've had enough, which could happen at some point. But and again, Bengals fans, don't get mad. We're just the messengers. We're just the analysts. We're just the ones looking at a bad situation and trying to give you ammunition to try to demand something better. This is all about, hey, this Bengals team could be special. One of us thought the Bengals were going to win the Super Bowl this year, and it wasn't me. But one of the reasons why they can't get to where they need to go is they're dropping the ball on these other important business decisions, and they're treating them too much like business decisions and not what can we do to have the best possible football team decisions.
No, I agree with you there, and I do. I mean, all those things, distractions, whatever what you want to call them, off-season, into the spring, into training camp, having to deal with all of that, certainly didn't help out the football team and the way they played early on in the year. And then you blow a game or two that you're supposed to win, and all of a sudden, oh no, we're sitting here at 4-7, and it's D-Day for them now, and they literally have zero wiggle room. Maybe they can lose one more.
They can lose one more.
Right? 9-8 at the maybe exactly depends how Denver does.
That assumes Denver fades at some point,
right? And Denver's getting better, as we've seen, toe to toe with the Chiefs last week. So I don't know where this goes. The game itself yesterday was a little bit of a microcosm of all those things you just talked about with them. Game starts off, okay, they're kind of hanging in there, and then it falls apart for a while. The Chargers absolutely just dominate them in every category possible, late first quarter, second quarter, into the early third quarter, and then things turned around. But why did they turn around? Because they were like, okay, Joe Burrow, you got to get hot and on fire and carry us, make it happen. The defense made some adjustments, definitely did that, but it was too little too late. And then it just showed a little bit again of, hey, they're messing up disease they have in big moments, and this week it was Money McPherson, their good kicker, missing big field goals and big moments that allowed the Chargers, after they blew a lead, to kind of hang in there and regather themselves to come back and hit a game-winning drive. But
all the momentum had gone to the Bengals.
Yes, the wind was out of the stadium there. You could feel it sitting there watching it. The Chargers had it. Burrow had it. They could not make a play in any of these moments. You're watching here the highlights. They were around Joe Burrow constantly. There was third downs. There was third and longs. And the Bengals and Burrow just kept making the play to where, yes, at the end of the game and when they get to 27 all, I'm just going, well, damn, they're going to win the game. The Chargers are just they've literally just petered out, fizzled out, whatever it is, and they got no more emotion to the football game. But the missed field goals, I think, re-energized the Chargers, and they made some plays to win it at the end.
The Bengals go into their bye week, and to your point, they have a very thin margin for error at this point. They come out of it with the Steelers, coming to Cincinnati. They go to Dallas for a Monday night game. They go to Tennessee. They host the Browns. Those are three games they could win, should win.
It's not a horrible schedule.
And if you don't win one of those three, you're done.
You're done.
Right. They get the Broncos week 17, so that's a one-game opportunity, and it gives you the tiebreaker if you beat them.
Right.
So all you have to do is match them, and if it's just the two of you, if it gets into a three-teamer, it's a little more complicated. But if it's just the two of you for that spot, you might be able to pull it off, and then they finish the season with a trip to Pittsburgh. So 2 games against Pittsburgh, not good for the Bengals. But divisional round games, who knows? That Broncos game stands out because the Broncos' schedule has some winnable games, but they could stumble. They've got some teams that could beat them. They have to go to the Chargers. They have to play the Chiefs. They got a game against the Colts, and the Colts are one of these teams that's caught up in this. Then they won yesterday. They're caught up in this scrum for the 7th seed.
They're one of the teams.
But it hurt the Bengals. You couple a Broncos blowout win with the Bengals losing, and there's separation there for the 7th seed, and it's not good. And again, the Chiefs fans get indignant when I say this. I'm sorry, but Joe Burrow is the only active quarterback who's beaten Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. He's the one. Yeah. He's the one that if you got Patrick Mahomes to tell you the truth, he doesn't want Joe Burrow coming into Arrowhead Stadium. Now, he probably does because he wants to beat him, but Burrow's the one that doesn't blink, and Burrow's the one that makes the big throw in the big spot and embraces that moment. Yeah. He's the only one that's beaten him. Yeah. So if the Bengals don't make it, that makes it easier for the Chiefs to get to what they're trying to do.
Well, I hear that there, and I don't disagree. I mean, Mahomes backed down from no one, that's for sure. But you're right in what you're saying. When he wakes up in the morning, he's playing Joe Burrow. He's going, oh no, this is Joe Burrow coming today. I better watch out. He's going to be clutch. We're coming down to the end. So, yeah, I'm sure nobody's going to want to see the Bengals and Joe Burrow if they do get in the playoffs, but that's just a big if right now. This is what we've seen from them all year. It's moments of good play, moments of high-level offense, but ultimately there's usually a mistake somewhere in the game by one of the three phases of the football team, and the defense just has moments in every game where they kind of just fall apart. They rebounded nicely in the second half and did some good things, but the first half, they put their team so far behind the eight ball in the way Justin Herbert was throwing the football. He was scrambling, making plays with his legs. I mean, I was shocked when we were sitting there early third quarter going, man, it's 27-6. I mean, I picked the Chargers to win, but I didn't think it was going to look like this. Certainly not. But then it felt like, and you've seen the Bengals do this before, once they start to go, okay, when we're in this formation, they're playing this coverage. And when they do this, they play this coverage. They start to dial up the right plays, and you play zone coverage like we've talked about with Burrow, and he starts to get a feel for what you're doing, he will start to absolutely dissect you. And we saw that last night, let alone made some great plays just buying extra time in the pocket. Joey Bosa hanging on him, breaking tackles, doing all that. I mean, Burrow was phenomenal in the third and fourth quarter.
He really is amazing.
Yeah.
And to go back to the point I made earlier, you'll wonder how long a talent like that with the will to win is going to tolerate an organization around him that isn't as committed as he is. How long? How long? It's a fair question. This is year 5 for him.
This is year 5.
How
this
long?
is the first year he's going to be able to say this directly, I think, right? I mean, the other years are, hey, we're building up, I'm coming up. They were doing the right things, drafting guys, few free agents they've got, helped them on the offensive line. I think this is the first year he's going to come away and go, yeah, they did me dirty this year. They did us dirty, the players. They didn't do things the right way. They didn't give us the chance or put us in a position to start the season where, yeah, distractions were limited. We were ready to go full-time, 100%, all cylinders, all systems go. They didn't get that opportunity, and I'm sure he will be bitter about that once he sits down after the season.
And if you take issue with the possibility that he's going to do that, just ask yourself what Peyton Manning would have done in a situation like that, or Tom Brady.
Yeah.
When I'm giving everything I can and I feel like around me the commitment isn't there, the spending isn't there, the desire isn't there to get to where I'm trying to take this team. And if I just had a little more help from the investment of resources and the commitment and trying, just act like you're trying. I feel like they're not trying. I feel like they're playing financial chess more than anything else in Cincinnati. Let's hear a little from Jamar Chase, one of the guys who should have gotten paid, who didn't get paid after another close loss by the Bengals.
Can you explain why the inconsistency has been there all year? You guys can't seem to string together plays or quarters or halves.
I don't know, man. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we're not finishing. I don't know what we're doing to give ourselves an advantage to finish. I don't know. Still believe in the guys in this locker room, though. We just got to find ways to finish.
You've seen that finish. Like, I've heard everybody obviously knows you need to do it. But what do you do
How do I do it? I don't know. Ask Zach. Ask the coaches. Don't ask me. That's not my job.
to finish?
I play football on the field. I don't call plays for us, so I can't really do nothing.
You think that's part of the finishing factor is plays stuff?
I don't know.
Wow. Oh,
That's what happens when you don't pay the guy.
Yeah.
Remember they put it in the Carl Pickens clause years ago. That he didn't quite cross that line, but hey, don't ask me. I'm not calling the plays.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think
if
he's
they
trying
had
to take a shot there or
Right,
anything
but
like that. I think he's just saying, hey, we play, we're doing it. I don't
he's
know
holding
exactly.
up his end of the bargain.
Exactly,
If
Brady.
they
He's
had
more than
11
that.
Jamar Chases on offense, they'd be undefeated.
Seriously.
So, yeah, but that's what happens when you're 4-7 and you feel like you're much better than 4-7, and they are. This is the best 4-7 team in NFL history. Isn't the time of year where we say things like that's
Exactly.
the worst
Well,
7-4 team in NFL history?
right,
This is
right.
the best 4-7 team, but they are.
I don't disagree with you.
If they get in, they're going to be a problem.
I mean, but let's think about it. I mean, got the game locked up against the Ravens the first time around. Interception to Marlon Humphrey gives them a little life late. Or McPherson, Money Mac misses a field goal late in that football game after Lamar Jackson had the fumbled snap and all of that type of stuff. Remember? The second Raven game, 21-7, kind of on the move. Chase Brown fumbles. Okay, game changes from that point on. So we saw it last night. We got that. The Kansas City Chiefs game, week 2. Strip sack fumble late in the football game. Chiefs defense picks it up, runs for the touchdown. Still with that, have the lead late in the football game and commit a critical pass interference on a 4th and long. that sets up the Chiefs to get the field goal. So they got a little bit of, what I always kind of joke around and say, just that disease of messing up in the biggest moments this year. And we haven't seen them do that. They've been the clutch team through the Joe Burrow eras the last 3 years. And this year, for whatever reason, in those moments, they haven't got it. And that's what I think Jamar Chase is saying. He's going, I don't understand it, but that's something that goes on the coaches when this stuff happens all the time. So you need to ask them, and I don't disagree with him in that aspect.
It's like this whole season is the Joseph Asai hit on Patrick Mahomes
right.
the sideline
right.
that handed the Chiefs the Super Bowl appearance to cap the 2022 season. Here's Zach Taylor, one of the people mentioned by Jamar Chase, along with Joe Burrow, on the Bengals' latest close loss.
I don't know many teams in the league are going to hang in 24-6 at halftime and dig their way back, fight the way our guys did. We're going to fight back. There's going to be some opportunities. We had to finish it off, and it didn't go our way. Proud of our guys, sick for our guys. I mean, those guys left it all on the field, man, gave us everything they had, stuck together, made play after play to get us back in that thing. And they just made more of a play than we did. And that's kind of been the story of our season so far. By no stretch is our season over with. We get a chance to use the bye to kind of get back and get into a groove here in the last part of the season. And we're going to have to win a lot of these, obviously. We put ourselves in a tough spot, but I believe what I just saw from our guys, I've seen it every single week. We're going to be right there in the end and just got to finish these games off.
Just got to make the plays. Just got to make the plays. And we haven't down the stretch, and we're not, a good enough team to, our margin of error is slim, so we got to make those plays. I got to make those plays. We all got to make those plays.
The problem is, I think at some point, it just snaps. We keep banging our head against the wall. At some point, we're just going to stop banging our head.
Yeah.
And it could happen against the Steelers. I don't know. It's easy to sit here and say, oh, well, they desperately need to beat the Steelers. They'll beat the Steelers in 2 weeks. That's how I felt this week.
That's what I think what everybody other than me and Rodney was feeling.
There's a point where they just are who they are.
That's what we're saying. Back to the original point of the show. Yeah, I know. Right. You know what I mean? But it's funny. It's kind of the way the week was. You look at a lot of the matchups, and that's kind of how the games went.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.